All right, cool. Father, husband, coach, leader, running a foundation. What's it like? What's it like being a husband and father these days?
Whew, man. All my years of being on the road, and you think that you're fortunate to have a great wife holding it down. But now that I'm at home and you get to see up close what they do all the time, wives are amazing. And I'm blessed with an amazing wife in Trisha and three three amazing kids, and it's just a great time in their life to be around them every day.
Yeah.
I feel very fortunate that I'm not missing these kind of precious days where you're truly seeing them learn things for the first time and pick up concepts for the first time, or see them get a make their first basket in a game, and those kind of youthful exuberant smiles are just amazing. So to be a part of their lives, and for my wife and I to be together enjoying this time in their life has been great.
Yeah. How long have you been married?
We are coming up on big number 10
10 years.
This summer. So 10 years, 3 kids, and it's mayhem in our house.
I love it. What are their ages again?
8, 7, and 4.
8, 7, and 4.
So we got 2 boys, 8 and 7, Jaden and Jordan, and they are at this point tackling each other in tackle football every day and every night in our game room, and it usually ends with one of them being quite upset. That usually ends the game. We don't put any clock on the game. It's just at what point do one of the boys get that upset that the game gets called. And
Yep.
my wife and I, we don't even get upset anymore. We're like, they're two boys
They'll work it out.
living it up. And then we have our daughter Jasmine, who she tries to get into the football games right now, and the boys lose their minds when she gets in the way. So she's been the recipient of some impressive hip checks and some pretty cruel tackles, as the boys are just like, all right, Jasmine, if you're stepping on the field, you better be ready to get hit.
I like it. So are they playing ball? Are they playing basketball?
Yeah, they're playing basketball. We're also fortunate they're in a flag football winter season right now.
Nice.
So they're both on the LSU Tigers, so they're enjoying that. But they had a good fall season of t-ball or baseball and soccer, and now we're in basketball and football mode. So again, it's just mayhem at our house as far as homework and practice and getting ready for Christmas. But it's, as you know, this is priceless times. So you just try to enjoy it.
Do you find yourself being more coach or more dad at games?
Oh man, that's a great question. I definitely last year I was out of my mind, so I was more trying to be a calm parent, and I was an out of control parent/coach. Now I'm getting better,
Yeah.
but every once in a while I lose my mind. So it's no, because honestly, you've been a coach, and obviously you're a parent as well. The most important thing is you want to just be there to support them, right?
Yeah.
And you literally just want to see them have fun. Like, I know it's cliche-ish, but if you're a parent sitting there watching your kids just play, like we know as they get older, sports gets crazy. So they're still at that pure age where it's just fun. Like they're literally. I remember one of my boys played a basketball game last year, and he had missed a free throw late in the game that had cost his team the game, and I was crushed. I was devastated. We get in the car after. He's like, "Dad, who won?" Like, he didn't even know who won the game, and I was like, "That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful." Yeah. Like just the purity of just like he was with his boys.
Yeah.
They had a blast. He didn't even know who. I'm like, Jay, I'm not sure. I don't know. You played great. You played a great game.
I love that.
But that again, there's only so many years where it's just pure. It's like literally just the purity of the game, and just love to play with your friends, and just enjoy the togetherness of sports.
That's awesome. Was your I know you grew up in Philadelphia. Was your family like that with sports? Was it like was everybody at games supportive? Like, what was the
Yeah,
What was
I
the feeling?
think both of my parents worked. I think it was one of those like when they could get there, they would anytime they could get there, they would be there,
Yeah.
and so I think very supportive. Um, I just feel like now it's just like I remember growing up, it was more you played football in the fall, basketball in the winter, baseball in the spring. Now it's like our kids play baseball and soccer in the fall. They play baseball and soccer in the spring. They're playing flag football and basketball in the winter. I mean, it's so much, and I think again, me being in the basketball world, I've made a deliberate choice to say, look, whatever they want to play. Like I don't I honestly if they, I mean my boys love baseball right now, so it's
Love
like
that.
let's go, and they it's not that they don't like basketball, it's just they there's just so much now, so many opportunities for them, so it's like let's go, whatever you want to do, and it's funny because last year there was one season, I think it was last fall, we had three things going at one time. We had flag football, baseball, and soccer going. And I remember my wife was looking at me like, "You're out of your mind, Brett." And by the end of the season, again, she's at these games going crazy, and we said to ourselves after, we're like, "What else are they going to do?" Like, yes, three was too much. We cut it back to two, but
Yeah.
if they're not doing that, what are they going to do?
Right.
They're inside. They're on the computer or they're on the iPad or they're playing. It's like, let's go. If you have an opportunity as a parent to expose your kids to these things, do it. Like this is a great time in their life where they can be going to school, coming home, playing with their friends, playing sports. It's like you do it for as long as you can.
Yeah. What sparked the passion in you? Because I know you played basketball all the way up, played college. Like, what sparked that in you?
It's interesting. I was very fortunate. My situation, I grew up on a college campus, which was Villanova University. My great uncle was a Augustinian priest at Villanova. My dad went to Villanova. My uncle taught business law for 25 years there. My mom ran the travel agency there. My grandfather worked at the information desk. So I say all that to say, my mom in the summer used to drop me off at the athletic department where my grandfather worked. So I'd go in, say hello to him, and I would take a walk out to the court there, and there were Villanova basketball players in there working out. And I remember just being like a young kid at that age, and just being amazed at that, like, oh my God, that guy plays for Villanova, and I just fell in love with the game.
Yeah.
That again, that purity, just when you're a kid, of just the game, like just the game, not all the other stuff as we get older that comes with the game, the money, the exposure, the fame, all that other stuff that comes with it. There's that age where it's just the love of the game, and it just bit me at a young age, and I was very fortunate to grow up around the game. And around a legendary coach in Rolly Massimino, who was really the person most responsible, for the kind of the start of my coaching career.
I was going to ask you about him. What was it like? Yeah, because I mean, he's a legend.
Yeah.
In basketball, period, whatever level you are.
Yeah.
I mean, as a kid at 6 years old, I was hearing the name Rolly Massimino.
Yeah.
I mean, the '85 title game against Patrick Ewing and Georgetown is basketball lore.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where, again, as you and I get older and you look back on your journey, it's just like, you're just so thankful, because how did I get around that guy?
Yeah.
A legend in the game, led his team to what people say maybe the greatest upset of all time, as you spoke to in '85. And it was right around that time. Here it was, I was 12 or 13 at that time. Now I'm around that program at a young age. And, again, for me to be that young of a kid and then around someone like that, it was like, you were just like, oh my God, like, I can't believe I'm around this guy. And, that's where I got bit by the coaching side of it, right? I fell in love with the game first, but he literally kind of grabbed me by the collar and said, "Come on, kid, you're coming with me." And he kind of took me under his wing, where it was like I would go to the camp, right? I'd go to camp, and then when camp was over, it was like, hey, Brett, you're going to help us out, help us clean up after, or do this or do that. And so I was there as a camper, but I was around him and the coaching staff, and I saw that side of it. And again, at a young age, I just got bit by that coaching side where I was like, man, I'd love to be a coach. I just want to be a coach, And I remember I was thinking about coming over here today and things we were going to talk about. And one of the things I remember, like when I was in 6th or 7th grade, I was the kid that was like drawing up basketball plays on my notebook. And I remember one of my friends said to me one time, they're like, man, you better be a good coach when you grow up, because this is all you do. And I don't remember what I ate for dinner last night, but I literally remember somebody saying to me, they said that to me.
Yeah.
And so I just, I kind of always knew I wanted to be a coach. But again, it's God's grace to say, like, you hear that, why me? A lot of times we say, why me, when something bad happens. And I look back a lot and just say, like, why me? Why was I able to be around this guy at a young age? And he took me under his wing. And after my sophomore year at Villanova, he left to take the job at UNLV. He took over for the legendary coach Jerry Tarkanian. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget this. The team meeting was on April 1st when he left to take the job. And everybody was like, oh, April Fools. Raul Massimino's he's not leaving Villanova. And I remember coming out, everybody got alerted to, after class was over, you got to come over to the gym. There's a team meeting. And I remember walking into the basketball office that day. And I was a student assistant at the time. And one of the assistants, a guy by the name of Jay Wright, who went on to become a Hall of Fame coach at Villanova, he grabbed me and he said, hey, Brett, you got to be ready. Coach Mass is going to ask you to go with us. And here it is. I'm a student at Villanova. It's my sophomore year, and I have Jay Wright telling me, get ready, coach. And it's like, number one, it was a shock. I didn't even know coach was leaving. Number two, he was going to ask me to go with him. So sure enough, we go down to the team meeting. He lets the team know, and he goes all around the room. And I'm literally the last person. Like, he goes around, gives everybody a hug. I'm the last person kind of in the line. He gives me a hug, and he said, brother, you're coming with us. And I remember like running back to the dorm at that time. And just to show you how old I am, there wasn't even cell phones at that time. There were pay phones. And I remember going to the end of the hall, calling my parents and saying, like, tell my mom and dad, hey, Coach Mass is leaving. He's going to UNLV and he's bringing me with him, And again, for those of the people that know about Villanova, a very distinguished private school in the Northeast outside of Philadelphia. Like, not many people transferred from Villanova to UNLV. But my parents were like, hey, man, if you got a chance to be a part of Coach Mass and what he's doing, we know he's going to take care of you, and they gave me the blessing to go with him. But again, I go back to like, why me? Why did Coach Mass say at that time? Again, he was worrying about a lot of things other than, bringing, a sophomore student assistant with him. But, why me? Well, because that started this journey in coaching, this 26-year journey in coaching, if it wasn't for him. And I think that's a big part as we talk about leadership, is just like the ability to understand when you're in that position, the power you have to impact people's lives.
Yeah.
Like just he could have worried about 100 different things, and he was like, I'm bringing this young guy with us, And obviously he was worried about a lot of things, but the fact that I made it to his plate to say, I'm bringing this young guy with us, it altered the course of my journey.
Yeah. So you were there with Jay Wright, who's still at Villanova.
So Jay just retired, but when we went to UNLV, Jay Wright was also at Villanova. When I was there as the student assistant, Jay Wright was there as an assistant. Coach Massimino takes the job at UNLV. He brings Jay Wright with him as an assistant coach. So now, and I still have 2 more years left of college. So as God would have it, a big part of my day, I was kind of in the trenches with Jay Wright a lot, as far as like he kind of grabbed me and kind of made me his right-hand man as far as he was an assistant, but there was a lot of things that he had to get done. So I just had the fortune of kind of being in the trenches with him a lot. Well, here it is. I graduate from UNLV 2 years later. Jay Wright gets his first head coaching job at Hofstra University.
Yeah.
And he's like, Coach Mass, is it okay if I bring Brett with me? And coach is like, you got him. You take him. And that began a 14-year journey with Jay Wright, where we were at Hofstra for 7 years. And then we wound up going back to Villanova, and I spent another 7 years there with Jay Wright. He wound up staying another 10 or 11 years, and he just retired. But again, talking about the grace of God, number one, I get snatched by one legendary coach in Rolly Massimino. I then get an opportunity to spend the first 14 years of Jay Wright's journey that became a Hall of Fame journey. He was just inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
2 years ago. I spent my first 14 years in coaching with him, side by side. It was I basically witnessed a Hall of Fame coach, number one, when he was an assistant, but number two, as he began his journey as a coach. All the things he did, all the things he learned along the way, I witnessed the first 14 years of it. So it's, again, why me? Why did I get that? Why did I get to witness that? That's where the gratitude comes in when you're given those kind of opportunities.
So you were there, what was it, 94?
94 yep.
To 2008.
Yeah.
And then you got hired by the Houston Rockets.
Yeah. And it's funny because I grew up in Philly. I'm a huge Sixer fan, Dr. J, Julius Erving, and all those years of Sixers, Boston Celtic rivalries. And it's funny, there was only one team. If somebody would have said, pick one team you would never want to work for in the NBA, I would have said the Houston Rockets, because I hated their uniforms. I don't know. It's just, it's like the different things that we make decisions on are just silly. But yeah. I hated their uniforms for some reason. But I wind up, and again, it's just so funny how God just God just loves these little intimate jokes that he plays on us. For years, so I'm in college 14 years, and I had opportunities to become a head coach a couple different times, but my dream was to get to the NBA. And I always thought, like, oh, Jay Wright, he's going to help me get there one day. And we knocked on a couple doors, and no doors opened. And I wound up getting a phone call from the Rockets. Hey, we got your name. Would you be interested in it? Long story short, I wound up getting hired by the Houston Rockets. They never called Jay Wright one time. So here it is. I had this vision of how I was going to get there. And guys, like, not only are you going to get there, but they're not even going to call that guy. Like, wow. like that. I can do it in an instant if I want. So that began my journey in the NBA. And again, I keep going back to this why me stuff, but I wound up working for a coach by the name of Rick Adelman, who 2 years ago, he got inducted into the Hall of Fame. So the first 16 years of my coaching journey, 14 years with Jay Wright, Hall of Fame coach. Rick Adelman, Hall of Fame coach. It's like, and then after Rick Adelman, I get the opportunity to work with Kevin McHale, a Hall of Fame player from the Boston Celtics. So it's just, as you look back on your journey and you're just like, how did I get here? That's where, as you know, when you get to be our age, it just turns into gratitude, where you're just like, the amazing gifts and talents that God has blessed us with. What can you do to use these opportunities and platforms to just help and serve other people? Which again, I think gets back to the leadership, that servant leadership. Why would somebody be a servant leader? Because it starts with gratitude to say, God gave me all this opportunity, this position. What can I do to help other people achieve greatness in what they're doing?
Yeah.
What
is one thing you learned from Coach Mass or Jay Wright, like in dealing with people? What was the thing that you sort of took from working with them and seeing them deal with players, deal with staff, deal with other people? I mean, what was it about them that made them? Because I mean, these are obviously successful people. They know X's and O's, but let's be honest, like any level of basketball at that high level, you're talking about people.
Yeah.
You're talking about dealing with people. So what was it about them that made them so good with people?
I think number one with Coach Massimino, the first word that anybody would mention when they hear that name, any of his former players or coaches, they would say the word family, meaning he treated his teams like they were his own family, and he was a strong Italian. His wife was a strong Italian, and they would talk about how, and this happened, the wife, his Coach Mass's wife, Mary Jane, she would cook up a whole night a bowl of pasta, and the whole team would come over, and the coach, and there was this, we throw around the word family kind of easy, but it's, to have a family, to oversee a family, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of sweat equity, right? Where it's one thing to say it, but it's one thing to say like, yeah, we're a family, but the people in the family know if they're a family or not, right? And when there's true, genuine concern, and that's, I go back to Coach Mass, and why did he grab me? Because he truly cares about people. He cared about me, where he's like, hey, I want to take care of that kid, And so I think from him, number one, just the genuineness from a leadership position. People know if you really care.
Yeah.
And he really cared, right? He didn't say it. He did it. With Jay Wright, I think he used to give this line all the time: the greatest gift anyone could ever give you is the truth. And I think
what a great line.
Yeah, I think that where that really has impacted my coaching career is I've just been the type. I just believe deep down, for someone to truly get better, you have to be honest with them, right? A lot of times, we have, as leaders, you have a choice to avoid conflict or kind of hit it head on, and it's kind of the combination of you got to have the concern where the player feels like, I know this person cares about me, right? Then you bring it with this little jab or this little punch of honesty, where it's like when you try to teach somebody something, they already know you really care about them. So if you're getting on them, they almost give you a look back like they're upset, they're disappointed because they feel like they let you down, because they're like, wait, I know this coach really cares about me, and he's upset right now, so I must have done something wrong, So I think it's that combination that has really impacted my life, of genuinely care about the guys, and then you got to be honest, right? If you're going to impact them, you have to be honest with them.
Yeah. And in developing people, like you've done for years, in coaching, I mean, that's nonstop every day at practice is development, is helping them grow. So how do you have that conversation with them about where they want to go? Because it's not just what you see in them; it's their dream as a player. How do they want to be successful? Where do they want to go? How do they want to grow? And that's obviously people. Like you just care about them as a person. But what's the conversation like with a coach, another coach, or a player who wants to go somewhere, and you want to be there to help serve and help get them where they want to go?
It's you say, what's the conversation? I think the funny thing is it's conversations, right? There's never one conversation. I mean, yes, there's conversations that give it some momentum or pivot. It forces a guy to change. But I remember saying to a player one time, like, I know you're upset with me right now, but I'm not going anywhere. Like, I'm going to be back tomorrow. All I want to do is help you get to where you want to get to. And I know you don't believe that right now. I know you're upset right now, but I'm going to, and the reason why I say it's conversations is because a lot of the times, you don't realize the impact that you've had on somebody until after, maybe years later, where they come back and say, Coach, man, thank you. Thanks. You don't get it in the moment, right? You don't necessarily get it in that conversation where somebody's like, wow, thank you. You changed my life today.
Yeah.
I mean,
sometimes they're really mad.
Right. But so I think as leaders, we have to understand like the reward, you shouldn't be in it for the reward, right? It should just be like, what can I do to help this guy? And the reward may be days later, weeks later, months later, years later, maybe never, but there's a good chance it's one of the other ones, right? Yeah. So I think it's the consistency of message where a player can be, or the person you're leading can say, you know what? like he said this to me a month ago, and he's saying the same, like, as opposed to, well, yeah, 2 weeks ago you said this, now you're saying that. Like, which one is it? It's like number one, if you're honest with him, you never have to look back and say, like, wait, what did I say to him on that? Just be honest, and then be consistent. Be consistent with the message.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, again, I look at it where I may not want to have a conversation with somebody, again, because you're in that mode of just avoiding conflict sometimes. And then I'm like, you know what? We got to have this conversation right now, because I know right now he doesn't get it.
Right.
But I know when he does, he's going to look back and say, you know what? Coach told me that 2 months ago. So I think it's that combination of honesty and then consistency of message. And it's funny, like Chris Paul, I had a number of conversations with Chris Paul in his time with the Rockets, and a friend of his had called me a couple months ago and said, hey, Chris wanted your address. He's coming out with a book. He wants you to have a copy of it. So I was like, oh, that's cool. That was, So then I get a text, and the person texts me back, and they say, yeah, that was a great story about that Chris told about something you said to him that really impacted him. And here it is. Like, I never even knew. In that moment, again, we had a number of conversations. But here it is, a couple of years later, he's making reference to it in his book. And the point that the conversation we had was, Chris was the type of guy, and he's one of my favorite guys I've ever had the opportunity of coaching. He's considered to be one of the best leaders ever, right, in NBA history. And part of it is he cares so much. And I remember saying to him one day, I said, Chris, you have to come to peace with the fact that some people don't care about it as much as you do. And that's not a good thing, bad thing, right, wrong. It's just
it is
you
what it
care
is.
so much. Yeah. And you sometimes you lose your mind, rightfully so. But the reality is it's only because that other person, they just don't care as much as you do. So anyway, I use that story to say, like, I didn't know having that conversation with him impacted him, right? You just try to be honest. You just try to be consistent. And here it is, years later, he made reference to that. Kind of was like an aha moment for him, where it's like he just expected every day, every person to care as much as he did. And it's like that can drive you crazy as a leader. You got to come to peace with the fact that, now again, there's that fine line between, I'm not saying let up on people. I'm just saying you got to have peace as a leader also, right? And part of that ability to have peace is to understand, look, man, there's some people that it's just not going to mean as much to, and I don't have to accept it, right? But I have to come to peace with it.
Yeah. What was it about Chris? And we've had this discussion before, but what was it about Chris that made him such a good leader?
Again, I think just the consistency of having that inner desire to be great. We've all, as coaches, you've always been on a team where you lose the game, you go in after, and you talk to the media and you say, man, we just didn't have it tonight. When we had Chris Paul, we never had to worry about that. Literally. I mean, I had the opportunity to work with Mike D'Antoni, another legendary coach, and we used to kid around. It was like we never worried ever. If he was on the team, you never had to worry about. Now, we didn't win every game. No, we won 65, which is the most ever that the Rockets had ever won in the regular season. And a big part of it was obviously James and the whole team, but it was Chris's spirit of, like, we're playing every night. Like, there is no win. We're not going to. No, we didn't win every game, but what was it? We were 65-17, I think it was. I mean, we won a lot of games, and a big part of it was him. Just that consistency of having a desire to win every night, and that's what I'm saying. He's one of the all-time greats as far as players, but just having the opportunity to coach someone like that was amazing.
So, as a coach in the NBA, you got 82 games in a season. How easy is it for players or teams to mail it in on any given night to say, it's a regular season game, we're up by 3 in the division? Is that ever a mentality with any team that you've ever been a part of?
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you say it like that, because I wouldn't term it as much as mailing it in, as what hits you is just as a human being, right? So 82 games is what, about 4 or 5 months, maybe? Let's say 5 months.
Yeah.
just me as a human being, forget about a player, right? How many days over the course of 5 months do I have a bad day? Okay. A number of those days, right? Where you're
Right.
tired, you might be sick, you might be dealing with something. So again, I don't look at it as much as mailing in as what hits you is like they're human beings.
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of these times you play a game, game's over, shower up, get something to eat, talk to the media, head to the airport. You're flying to the next city. Okay. So now you get to the next city. Well, guess what? Some of the airports are 35 minutes from, so you flew somewhere, you landed, now you got to get on a bus to some hotel, which again, it's first class. All of it is first class. But they're still human beings, right? They're still getting to a hotel maybe some nights 3 a.m, 4 a.m, right? And now you got to play that night. So again, I go back to say, I wouldn't say as much as they make a choice to say I'm mailing it in today, as much as it is they're human beings. And yeah, there's nights where guys they just don't have it, and that's where you have just an immense respect for someone like Chris, because he's a human being who's tired and sick and dealing with stuff, and he still finds this inner desire to challenge himself to be great every night.
You've talked to me about Mike D'Antoni, and you've shared with me how he sort of handles people as an NBA coach. And I consider him one of the greatest offensive minds in NBA history. Brilliant thinker of X's and O's and coaching. But what was his way with people? What has been his way with people over the years as you've seen?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think we've spoken on it before. He's really impacted my mindset as far as he had just the most amazing ability every single day to, I use the word touch, right? But to touch everybody inside the family of the team, right? And what I mean by that is he'd come in the morning, he'd go get some breakfast, he'd sit there with the chef. Well, guess what? Now the chef's in a good mood because the head coach just came in and genuinely was concerned, hey, how you doing today? How's your family? Well, who's the first person that the players see when they come in? They go get a breakfast, they see the chef. Well, guess what? The chef's in a great mood. So that's one thing by checking in on everybody. Now Mike goes into the training room. Now he's talking to the trainers, the medical staff. And again, not to check a list, not to check a box. He genuinely cares about people. So now, who do the players see after they eat breakfast? Well, they're going to get their ankles taped. They're going to get treatment. Well, guess who else is in a great mood? The training staff. Now, Mike takes a walk to the weight room, talks to the strength and conditioning coach. And, he just had an amazing ability to touch everybody in the inner circle to the point where it just created a good spirit. Doesn't mean that things were always perfect, but a lot of times as leaders, we have a choice. Do you avoid an issue or do you embrace the issue? And I think what Mike taught me as seeing a leader like him is just how important it is to just, there may be issues, but just check on the human being every day, make sure you're okay. And it winds up making dealing with the issue sometimes a little bit easier, right? As opposed to not having talked to somebody for 4 days, and we all know how things can fester. Well, what about just a hello, just a how you doing? Your family okay? Maybe that just brings down the level of animosity, just brings it down a notch, and then it brings it down, and then by the time you address it, it's a little bit better already, just because both of you maybe have simmered down a little bit. So just his ability through genuineness, again, not to check a box, but to genuinely care about people. It then bled into the team of, we had an amazing spirit as a team. Just whether it was not because the chef had a good attitude, but everybody, there was just a good attitude, a good vibe amongst everybody, and that seeped into the players. Well, now the players came out onto the court, they were feeling good about themselves, and Mike just had a great ability to lift up people.
And I think going back to what you said about Chris Paul and my question about mailing it in, sometimes as leaders, there can be frustration. We own a business, work for an organization, you got people under you. Sometimes you get frustrated. You're like, why doesn't this person care? I'm like, maybe it's an issue going on with them in the developing of people and like working with people and accomplishing a goal together, but also training, bringing them up, lifting them up. There's going to be days where they're having a hard time. Like players. How many times have you been on a plane in between NBA cities, and they got something going on in their personal life, going on with their family, and they're on the phone, or they're dealing with their own personal stuff, and it's like they're expected to get there as a team, get to the hotel, check in, sleep, get up, do their job. But they're on the phone, dealing with a family issue. And the patience you have to have as a coach or as a leader, like speak a little bit to just your experience in having patience with other people.
I'm laughing because I was very blessed in my journey to have the opportunity to spend an afternoon in the apartment of John Wooden in the last year of his life.
Wow.
I had a good friend of mine who's a professor at USC, University of Southern California. He was good friends with John Wooden. He used to go see him once a month. So I was out in California. It was during the summer, and my buddy calls me and says, "Hey, Brett, I'm picking you up tomorrow at 12 noon. I got a surprise for you." I have no idea what we're doing. He picks me up. We drive out. We pull up to this apartment complex. True story. We go up to the gate to get into the building, and there's everybody's names on a board, and you have to push a button to get let in by that person. Literally, you look up on the board, and there it is, Wooden. Yeah, like he's literally he's in an apartment complex, and you have to get buzzed in by pushing the button for his apartment. So
wow.
we go up to his apartment, and he had lived there for I think it was since 1972 when he had gotten married. I mean, he had literally lived there for the latter part of his life. We go up and we spend an afternoon in his apartment, and it was literally just myself and my friend and Coach Wooden, and it was just questions and conversations, and we were getting ready to leave, and my buddy turns to me and says, "Brett, any last question before we head out?" I said, "Coach Wooden," I said, "you've been through it all, seen it all, done it all, won it all. What would be your biggest piece of advice?" Excuse me. To a younger coach, and he hesitated for a minute, and he put his fingers over his lips as he was thinking, and he says, "Patience."
Mm.
He said, "Patience with your team, patience with your players," and so again, I laugh when you say that because it's probably one of my biggest regrets as a coach, and I've tried to get better, is, as coaches, we just want it to happen. Like we don't understand, if we tell a guy to do something one time, why does he not do it the next time? And why does he not do it for the rest of his life? It's like, so when I heard that from him, and I got, I'm trying to think how long ago that was. It had to be a good, maybe 10 years ago. Again, it was in the last year of Coach Wooden's life, but it's been 10 years probably at least. And I still think back to that conversation where I'm just like, I have to be more patient, more. So here it is. Here was a guy that was considered maybe the greatest coach of all time. And when he was reflecting back to, okay, what do I deem as being most important? That was the word that he said, and I think whether it's me as a father now with my kids or as a coach, I think, man, that's the word. Patience. You just, we all want it so fast, but can you be patient and let that person, or can we understand that it's a process for people some people are going to do it the next time right and for the rest of their life, but most people it's going to be a process.
I started coaching when I was 19 in high school. When I was 21, my third season in, I remember playing a school that was very talented. And at halftime, we were losing. We were down. We just hadn't played well. I had a freshman class that was very talented, about 4 of them. And 4 years later, when they were seniors, we ended up playing the state title game. So great team, but they were young. And I was laying into them the first half. And I remember a coach who was keeping score in this tournament. He wasn't even part of this school. He pulls me to the side as I'm walking to the locker room. He said, "Coach, let me give you a piece of advice. I'm 21 years old. I'm this insecure, trying to prove myself as a coach. And I think that yelling and screaming is going to make it happen." And he pulls me aside and he said, "You have a talented team, but they're young." He said, "Can I give you one piece of advice?" And I said, "Sure." He said, "Be patient with them. They're going to be really good." Didn't know me from Adam. Pulls me aside as I'm walking to the locker room. Never saw him again. Best piece of advice. I'll never forget that conversation. It was 15 seconds of gold.
Yeah.
And he said, "Be patient." This guy was probably in his early 60s, clearly a great coach. He said, just be patient with him. Let me ask you this question. What's one of your biggest regrets in coaching? Or mistakes you made? What do you feel like was something that you had to learn the hard way?
I think I spoke to it a little bit, what I just said, as far as I wish I would have been more patient with guys along the way. I think towards the latter part of my coaching journey up to this point, I've tried to become more compassionate. But I think another regret would just be, yes, it's a game, but it's so much bigger than that. So I think you just wish that I just wish I had been more compassionate along the way and understanding, like, yes, there's the basketball side of it, but the human side is so much bigger, and so I think it's a regret, but it's something I've tried to change and work on. And I think what you find is the more you focus on the human side, the more impact you have on the basketball side, right? If you try to begin a day by jumping on somebody basketball-wise, the chances of you impacting that person are probably not as great as if you start the day trying to check on the life side of it first. You okay? Everything all right? You good at home? Come on, let's go get something to eat. And then all of a sudden, your ability to impact guys increases greatly when they know how much you care about them.
Yeah, the connection before the correction.
Yep.
I like that. All right, what are you most proud of that you've accomplished, or that God has done in your life through you? What are you most proud of?
It's funny because sometimes I hear people ask that question, and I've heard people say, "Oh, my kids," and you're like, "Come on, it's got to be, it's got to be a game, it's got to be." But I think the greatest accomplishment is when you can see, my favorite Bible verse is Job 121. "Naked I come from my mother's womb, naked I shall return. God giveth, God taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." When you see your child come into the world with nothing, you realize, like, the only thing they know is what we teach them.
Yeah.
So, I'd say the greatest accomplishment is, up to this point, what my wife and I have been able to do to try to pour into them and develop in them good habits. That's bigger than any win that I've ever been a part of. And again, I know it sounds like the kind of the answer we're supposed to give, but it's really the truth. I mean, as you know, being a father, when you see the impact that you can have on your kids who came into the world with nothing, we literally have the opportunity to help shape them is powerful stuff.
So you have actually helped write a book, have you not? Or a series of books?
All God, sitting on my couch during COVID, I'm reading a dinosaur book to my middle-aged boy, Jordan. I read him the book. I close the book. I was like, that was an amazing book that just taught my son how to be a better friend at the park. And God puts in my spirit right there, I want you to do the same thing using the game of basketball. So we have a 6-book series. 4 of the books have been released. It's called On the Right Path, and we literally combine the game of basketball with a simple life skill. We have a Bible verse at the end of it, and it's a book series for children. But it's all God. Again, I was on my couch, and He put in my spirit to do it, so I've done it. We got 2 more to go, but it's been fun.
I want to play the one word or one name game. Now you've already talked about a couple of these, but I'm gonna throw a name or a word out there, and I want you to give me your first reaction.
Okay.
Massimino,
Bowl of pasta.
bowl of pasta. Jay Wright,
Man. Changed my life.
D'Antoni,
Spirit.
Kyle Lowry,
Philly Pitbull.
Chris Paul,
Leader.
John Wooden,
Patience.
GOAT.
MJ, come on.
Thank you for saying that. I had somebody. I was listening to somebody talk about it the other day, and they put. I want to hear your thoughts real quick. Steph Curry as number 2 all time.
No, I love Steph. I think it's funny. I heard somebody talk about the way he has impacted the game of basketball. I mean, we all hear this stuff, but when you actually marinate on it, the way he's changed the game, whether it be the way that kids are shooting the ball, but just the way the game is played right now. I mean, you're at the point now where I think every team in the NBA is almost shooting close to 30 or 35 3. I mean, that's him. That's literally, he changed the game. But I grew up in the prime of the MJ era, so no, for the people that grew up in that era, no one's replacing him. But I think it's hard to not have LeBron at 2 with here's a guy who's going to be top whatever in assists, number 1 in scoring, a winner, a leader, champion, all that. I don't know if you could put anybody above him at 2.
Yeah, LeBron.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can put anybody above LeBron at number 2. I think it's MJ 1, LeBron 2, and then everybody else can get in the party.
Kobe, Magic.
Yeah, again.
It's
3 on down.
I think it's. I mean, Bill Russell. I mean, how many rings does he have?
Yeah,
And
but again, for LeBron to do what he's done, and everybody that's witnessed him up close would say he's a pass first guy.
yes,
He is, and he's going to be he's the all time leading scorer in the history of the game, being a pass first guy.
Yeah.
I mean that's just. But his spirit, his joy, his competitiveness, his detail for discipline all these years, it's we definitely are spoiled. I think somebody talked about how we had the ability to go from what it was, Bird and Magic, to MJ, to Kobe, to LeBron. Man, that's been a pretty good run.
I pulled up an article from 2018 of you coaching here in Houston, and I want to show you the article title. It's from The Athletic. It says, "A Laptop and Patience. Brett Gunning, the Mike D'Antoni whisperer, and the mastermind behind Houston's turnaround." What do you think of when you see that?
Well, if people could see that picture, it's me sitting next to James Harden. So I think the mastermind behind the Houston turnaround was that guy. It was James Harden. I think we all understood we were lucky to be a part of it. We all did our part. I definitely tried to impact to the best of my ability, and I think I did. I think I was able to impact in certain ways. But as you know, as a coach, and any coach will always understand it's always been about the players, and it will always be about the players, right? We were blessed with an amazing team, whether it was with James and Chris Paul and Trevor Ariza and Clint Capella, PJ Tucker. I mean, all these guys. As coaches, you do your part. But the great coaches get out of the way, right? You do your part, and then you get out of the way.
Yeah.
And you let your guys shine, and they did. It was a magical run with that team, and it was a lot of fun to be a part of it.
I've heard somebody say, your best competitive advantage is your people. Best competitive advantage. Your staff, your players, they're your best advantage. All right, final question. And I want to say I appreciate you doing this today. You have coached with a number of legendary coaches in the game. You've been there for some incredible teams, some incredible experiences from Rollie Massimino to Rollie Massimino to Jay Wright, to Mike D'Antoni. You've sat with John Wooden. You've been there with Adelman. You've been there with, countless people. What does it say about Brett Gunning that so many legendary coaches wanted you with them in the trenches?
Oof. That's a powerful question. That's a great question. I think, and again, I know, most people, you try to deflect and you say it's not me, it's not, I think it's, number one, it's God, right? It's God to say, it's that verse, I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb. It's the favor of God, number one, right? Number two, I think it's getting to that place where you find that unique passion, right, that God has given you, and that's what gives you the chance to be the best version of yourself. So I guess it's a genuineness where maybe where people saw I had a genuineness and love for the game, a genuineness and love to be in the trenches, right? I think as any leader, if you can have guys in the trenches with you that their only desire is to help, and I think if I'm proudest of anything, it's that I really just enjoy that, like the purity of like being in the trenches trying to help a team win, So I think it's God's favor, and then probably that embracement of the passion that God placed inside of me, right? Why basketball for me? You talked about your daughters. It's dance, with other people. It's playing a musical instrument. It's can you kind of get out of your own way, hear that. I was just reading the verse in 1 Kings today when I was studying my Bible. It talks about God was not in the fire, was not in he was in the whisper. It's like, can you hear the whisper where God's like, this is what I've created you for, this unique passion. Can you take this passion and use it as an opportunity to help and serve others? And I think that's what I've done, and that's what I hope to continue to do.
Brett Gunning, husband, father, NBA coach, leader, author, and developer of people. Guru, I would say. Expert developer of people. But I've been around you almost a decade now. I think the first time we ever had lunch was 2014. And I can say without problem that the single thing that I've learned being around you is you genuinely care about people. And I think personally, that's my opinion on why you're in the trenches. Because people know you care.
Great to be here. I hope another 10 years of Oishi sushi.
That's right. I love it.
Some great lunches.
Thanks, man.